And we are live. What's up, everybody? Um, it has been a while since I've been on. Pardon the camera. I had some tough technical difficulties. I think I have something stuck in my computer, which is unfortunate. However, we will get through this, and it will be a long-awaited fantasy football podcast that I have not been on in a while, in quite some time. I'm here to express my deepest feelings on the upcoming fantasy football season. I did not do very well, perform very well, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. Last year, I think in Underdog, Fantasy, and DraftKings, I did pretty okay. Um, but we will get into topics like the Um, like the description says, we will go into ADPs, my top rounds, my top picks in mostly every round, my exposures, who I am fading the most this year, and a couple other picks. And we will hop into a draft in about another hour and a half. Maybe a best ball mania, maybe a couple more puppies to get just more numbers, so to speak. I really like the big or the pit bull. That's one of my favorite contests on Underdog. Um, but I hope you guys stick to watching the channel. I hope you guys subscribe. Follow me on X right there. You can see it right there at the Rafael Ibarra. Um, I give out controversial takes and topics. I try to attack some other people on the internet and on fantasy, but it is all for it is all from love. If you do not understand that and you do not know where my side is coming from, please DM me. But it is all for love. We want to give back to you guys the most, the community the most. A lot of my takes do come from either other sources that I listen to or think highly of. But most of them come from my watching of my perspective of fantasy football and the game's evolution and the efficiency and effectiveness of good quarterback play, good coaching, and the utilization of good running backs, good wide receivers, in good spots, in good positions. Without further ado, let's get into a draft. Thank you again so much for watching and coming on. If you do come on, I will probably not look at the comments, so to speak. I do have a tendency to just ramble or talk, maybe in circles sometimes, but talk about my player takes because I'm not on here so much. I hope the camera quality doesn't bother you guys as much as it is bothering me. I'm gonna take off the suit jacket now. That is for some new clickbait type stuff. Maybe I'll do in later and try to let you guys in that realm. But we are just in a hoodie today. We are getting into a fantasy football draft. We are in the Underdog lobby. I am pulling up the NFL tab. As you can see here. Ugh, blinded you guys. There's a Frenchie now, 2 for max. It's 24 Dole hairs for 15. I'd rather do the 20 and a 5 or a couple 5s or a 5 and a 25. I might shoot a BBM at the end of this. But I will actually start with a BBM. then we will go into. See, I've only done just a handful of 10, basically BBMs. I think this will be on my only last BBM for the entire year. If you're an avid follower, I will take a couple of water breaks and a couple bathroom breaks. So I am sorry if I am not quote unquote professional. I am myself, and if you cannot understand that or accept that, then I'm sorry. There's plenty of other analysts, much better analysts, to be fair, too, that are more professional. But I am trying to show me and my side, both the goods and the bads. I'm trying to represent myself and not follow the crowd, and so things like water, drinking water, is perfectly natural, perfectly healthy in a live stream because my mouth can get very parched, and a bathroom break here and there because the live stream will be long makes total sense. Yes, we will enter BBM. That gave you guys some time to enter with me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am in the Basketball Mania lobby. There are 6 remaining spots. I might get a good spot here. So hopping right into, I guess you could say, my rankings. I have Jahmyr Gibbs at 1, Bijan Robinson at 2. I had him more or less at 6, just because after Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, JSN. The reason why I had Bijan so low was because he wasn't utilized at the goal line, so to speak, in his last couple of years. He is a very good pass catcher. I can see him even outscoring Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, and becoming that 101. He has the profile of being a bigger back, a heavier back, maybe even a healthier back. I think maybe Jahmyr Gibbs. Ooh, and we're getting the 112. I love this. I love this a lot. But going back to Bijan Robinson, how many badge lists? 4 badge lists. No one that I particularly see or have picked with Chaz Den Christensen, maybe. Scantron, maybe. Laquans, maybe. S. True, maybe. But this will be an interesting draft. No, particularly this guy has done the most drafts out of this entire is it called a lobby? I don't know what this is called. I'm gonna sneeze, I feel it. This orange badge or this bronze badge. But going back to Bijan Robinson, he is getting a new coaching staff, and so that helps me better understand his 102 pick. And because the running backs at the end of the first round, or at the end of the second round and into the third round, I don't see as particularly good picks, in my opinion. Your Breece Hall, let's see, who goes there? Your Kyron, your Josh Jacobs, to some extent, Travis Etienne in the early, let me go to ADP, in the earlier offseason. And then even the wide receivers, like I would rather bite the bullet at number 102 or 103 with Bijan Robinson, even though that is a player I am not highly influenced to take. It is someone that I now realize that I should have been taking. I took him in a couple of spots with some players that I think should be going in that 1-2 turn, that we will show later on, or maybe even take here. I think Ashton Jeanty too. Ooh, CD Lamb to me would have been amazing. I'm gonna do something very fun in this one. No, I shouldn't do that. I'll do the easy click. I'll do Ashton Jeanty, someone that I do not have any of in Best Ball Mania. I think he's a very good pick here. Good for the playoff rounds. And I think Malik Neighbors, he is showing the ability to be healthy, probably post week 5, maybe even in week 1. There was not a player, a wide receiver that stands out that goes in the second round. I'm not too fond of Nico Collins, Devontae Adams, or Devonta Smith, Nico Collins. Who else goes in that range? AJ Brown, I was getting my fair share of. He seems to be in the right range. If you guys like Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Chase Brown, I think their median projection is a little bit better than AJ Brown's. I do see New England passing the ball a little bit more. Malik Neighbors is the only wide receiver I can see in the 2026 season. 2026 season? Yeah. In the 2026 season, to be in the top 5 at wide receiver. I see him competing with Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, JSN, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and CD Lamb. I have way more exposure to Malik Neighbors than Justin Jefferson. If Jefferson fell, I would have probably taken. And if Ashton Jeanty went at 111, I would have probably taken Walker and Neighbors and kept my pick with Neighbors. I don't know how much I have him in Neighbors in my overall portfolio, in my overall portfolio, and especially in Best Ball Mania. But getting him here with Ashton Jeanty, a pick that I kind of have been fading to as well a little bit more. Ashton Jeanty is more on his size. I like a little bit bigger of a running back. He has the weight aspect of it. His broken tackles is pretty good. As a running back, though, that's that small, I do not like seeing him force contact, which is something that Ben Gretsch has brought up, and I do see that in his film, so to speak. It does pop out. Emeka Ibuka coming all the way down to me would have been a really fun pick. One player that I am highly... Zay Flowers dropping all the way down to me at the at 36 overall. I'm also going to take Colston Loveland, who I really very much admire. These are my ranks. I have Tedero McMillan. I like the Carolina Panthers. I love the Chicago Bears. The only thing about Colston Loveland, he's been one of my blind spot picks in 2026. I do think guys like Tucker Kraft, who I've not been taking, guys like Harold Fannin, who I've not been taking, different tight ends that go later than Colston Loveland do have, and guys, frankly, that go in front of Colston Loveland all have potential to outscore Colston Loveland. Like anybody in fantasy, anybody that you take, everybody around him has the ability to outscore the player that you have. But I think because of the offense I think that because the offense is so concentrated to Roma Dunze, Luther Burton, and Colston Loveland, I think, and then the running backs, DeAndre Swift, who I do not have a ton of, and would be nice for him to fall back to me, and Kyle Monangai. I think there's a chance for Colston Loveland to kind of do what Trey McBride did. I'm not chasing the Trey McBride year from last year. I think it's a perfectly good pick at that spot. Zay Flowers, if I was picking in another spot and I did not have two players that I am exposed to but not as much exposed to in Basketball Mania, in Ashton Jeanty and Malik Neighbors, I was taking most of him, but like you see my portfolio, I have not drafted a lot of Basketball Manias. Getting Zay Flowers to fall to me at the 3-4 turn this late in August is something that I cannot pass up. Bucky Irving would have been a good pick for me as well instead of Colston Loveland. He is getting lots of steam, and is a pick that if Zay Flowers was not there, probably would have been on my board. I think if you're giving me a crystal ball and you're saying, what are the 4 picks in the top first 4 rounds that you needed to have, I'm going to say CeeDee Lamb in round 1. In round 2, I am going to say Malik Neighbors. In round 3, I am going to say... I'm going to say you needed to pull up Colston Loveland, and in round 4, you needed to have Bucky Irving. That's what I'm trying to go for in my redraft league. Hopefully I can get like a Terry McLaurin in the 4th round or the 5th round to fall to me, or a DJ Moore. Those are 2 players that are kind of slept on this season in fantasy. Parker Washington goes. Getting Travion Henderson and Carnell Tate here is an absolute smash. I love Travion as my running back 2. Should I go with Drake May? Should I go with shoot, he's not here. Carnell Tate or Brian Thomas Jr.? I'm gonna go with Carnell Tate. Lots of steam. His steam this year reminds me a lot of Brian Thomas's steam and his coming out of the rookie year, his training camp in the rookie season. I actually also, like Ashton Jeanty, do not have a lot of Carnell Tate. Those are 2 picks that actually could hurt me. But with a couple of players that I do, in fact, like this year, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, and Colston Loveland. Excuse me, I gotta think up now. Kyle Pitts going at the 6.2. That is a crazy pick. Maybe that is a pick that we are going to be doing later next year. When did Christian Watson cut his hair? But yes, if Carnell Tate was not there, I would have gladly taken in the 5th. I think the 5th round is really nice. In the earlier offseason, I was taking Jameson Williams. I haven't really taken a lot of Devontae Adams. I like Scatterboo. He falls all the way to the 5.7, which is a really good pickup by Trader and A. He gets Saquon Barkley with Devonta Smith and Jalen Hurts. Really Betting on the Eagles there with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Cam Scadaboo and Travis Etienne or Etienne. I think Etienne has the ability to hurt us in fantasy. He's been a player that I have really liked as a I really like him as a redraft pick. Especially going back to when I first started playing fantasy football on ESPN. I remember he was the player that I was always competing against and always wanting. I always saw him. It was in 20. I started watching fantasy content in 2024. I want to say, I think that was 2024 season, maybe 2023, where he was really going off. With the Jacksonville Jaguars early in the season, and then maybe he got hurt later on in the season, and maybe that's why I wasn't drafting him a lot last year. This year seems like he's gonna hurt us again, just because I think the Saints, if they are just okay, they're gonna utilize him a lot because we all don't think Alvin Kamara is that good anymore. I do not particularly like. I can stop here with Tucker Kraft. Getting Jackson Dart this far. Mekhi Lemon is not my favorite pick. I can stop with Jonathan Brooks. Rico Dowdle for Lake Corum. I have my bets with Colston Loveland. Getting Tucker Kraft maybe would have been a reach. That's the reason why I really don't like Tucker Kraft or don't pick him up a lot. In my next puppy draft, that's probably a player that I'm going to pick with a couple players that I do like. I think he goes in a fine range too. That's just a range I'm always looking at. Quarterback, if a guy like Herbert, T-Law, Caleb falls to me. And then if wide receivers, if I'm short at wide receivers, if I have a couple more running backs like I did here, or if I had another running back instead of Colston Loveland or Zay Flowers, that's where I kind of go with a wide receiver in following DK Metcalf, Quentin Johnston. Early in the offseason, I was taking Cortland Sutton. In hindsight, I think it would have been smart for me to just take Cortland Sutton later on or Cortland Sutton now, and just bet on the Harvey and Bo Nix's offseason. Pat Bryant is getting a lot of steam, and you'll see in my portfolio that I do have a lot of him. I think that a lot of the people that tout fantasy football, including Ship Chasing, Jacob Sanderson, and Pat Kerrane. I think early in the offseason, if I'm not mistaken, in the summer, we were talking in the big board about Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant both going. Or because I'm talking about Pat Bryant, I should say Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin were going around, I think, though, 140 around there, and they were saying he's going too high. I think that's the right range where they have them. I moved Pat Bryant up in my ranks because of the buzz he was getting at training camp. I think that, but I was taking him because I could in the 16th, 17th, 18th round. Now that he's going higher, I'm still willing to take him higher because I think he's a good pick. in fantasy football. Bo Nix is off the board. Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy. The next 2 picks do not have quarterback. Usually when I have Neighbors, he is off the board. Goff goes. This is a good pick too. I've done this too, where I have my rankings as George Kittle and Harold Fannin Jr. or Harold Fannin. Doesn't say Jr. But Jackson Dart is my preferred pick here. Who is at quarterback? Bake Show. I really like Baker. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Probably my preferred pick. He's getting a lot of buzz also. I think this is a really good running back room. I don't need any more shots at running back. I am going to add probably another 2 quarterbacks at the end of this draft. There's a couple of quarterbacks that are falling. We'll see what the room gives me. 3 wide receivers that I think could be top 24 wide receivers this year, especially if healthy throughout the entire season. An elite tight end and a falling quarterback that stacks up with one of my elite wide receivers. I think that's very good. A couple of year 2 and year 2 running backs with a year 3 running back that I think can ascend and even take that backfield. This is a really good draft, in my opinion. Something that you have to lean into in the end of rounds, and even in fantasy football in general. You will be behind in one position. You have to know what are your strongest takes in fantasy football. If you like a wide receiver in the first round, be okay with not taking a lot of wide receivers in the middle rounds. There's a lot of dead positions and a lot of dead players everywhere on the board. Ashton Jeanty is not a player that I am into up until today, or up until this last week. I think it was me acknowledging that I was, like Bijan Robinson, having to come to terms with, because I think the players that don't give you the fuzzies inside, like you have something on the board, you have a player that is in your back pocket, so to speak, that you can pull up at any time, you can take at any time. I think that's what it was with Bijan Robinson and Ashton Jeanty. But a falling Trevion Henderson, RJ Harvey coming back to me, Blake Corum being available, and Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt coming to me. Bake Show coming all the way to me would have been awesome. I like Goddard. Goddard's cool. I think Goddard probably wasn't the correct play, now that I think about it. But Shaheed, if I'm not betting on my Seattle Seahawks this year, what am I doing? Same week 10 bye, maybe that's why. Crap. I can take another tight end that not a lot of people are taking in round 18 if I have that bullet available. I do not need another wide receiver. I mean another running back, so that's a free spot I have. So out of the 18 picks, if I minus 5, I will have 13 picks available to me. 2 tight ends right now. 4 wide receivers. How many picks do I have left? 12, so I have 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I have 6 picks left. I at least want to get to 7, maybe even 8. We'll see how the board falls to me. Wide receivers. I have 6 picks left. I want to get to 7 wide receivers. I will have probably 2 luxury picks. Those will probably go to tight end, maybe, so I don't have to take a 0 at tight end in week 10. Or I'll take another quarterback, maybe. Or a 9th wide receiver. We'll see what happens. I'm leaning toward a 2-5. That gives me 7. Giving me 3 is 10. A 2-5-8-3 build. 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 8 wide receivers, and 3 tight ends. Pat Bryant, if you can see, ADP has him at 182, skyrocketing up the board. He was, I think, going in the late 180s, early 190s, even down to the 200s early in the offseason. My favorite time, and looking back at when I draft, I have drafted all 3 of these years throughout the entire offseason. Maybe drafting 1 or 2 teams every day from more or less June to August to like this week 1, week 2 preseason time. But my favorite time of year to draft, and I think my biggest edge in the drafting season, I think, is during Daniel Jones. There is nice. I think I might want to take Bryce Young. Cam Ward should be still on the board. No, he's not. Okay. I think Michael Penix Jr. is okay. I think Fernando Mendoza is a great pick. I'm definitely going to take Pat Bryant at 156. Oh no, you took Pat Bryant at 156. Yeah, I did. I like Bryce Young. I don't like I'm gonna take Schultz. Oh, okay. It autoed to Travis Hunter. Totally fine pick. I had him the highest in my ranks. I think he is a wide receiver that this team needed, actually. I started strong with 3 wide receivers. There, I added 2 wide receivers that could potentially have a couple of touchdowns or could be the ascending number 2s in their good offenses. I think I didn't want to go with Bryce Young because I thought if I went with Bryce Young, I should have probably taken Tetero and McMillan instead of Holston Loveland. If I were to do it again, I might want Tet Kraft over Loveland Corum, but maybe God was doing something for me there. Maybe I was speaking with him in the silence. Glory to God, glory forever. I think this is a good draft. Maybe he picked that pick for me and Travis Hunter. Who knows? I have 4 more picks. I think with practically, if we're being quite honest, a cornerback as your 6th wide receiver. Only one quarterback and having 2 tight ends with the same bye week. I need to go 8 wide receivers, even 9. Take the 0 at tight end and get 2 quarterbacks I'm okay with. Maybe. Dalton Schultz goes. If Barner's there, I can add Barner. Don't add Cade Otton because he's a week 10 bye. I really don't have a lot of Ryan Flournoy. David Njoku going at pick 171. Jesus. Have some over Kenyon Sadiq. Gosh. No, I'm kidding. I think it's fine. I think what we do also, and I think I touted this in 2024, maybe 2025 last year, is after the 10th round, after the 100th pick, we should be allowed, like the best ball brawl, to pick players that we think can outscore drastically their ADPs. I think there's a lot more zeros between I think after the 7th round in particular, not in this year. Damn, Barner goes early too. This is actually a pretty smart room, so to speak. Judy goes. I'm going to take Mendoza, Tank Dell, Ted Hurst. 2 guys that are getting a lot of steam. We can do Tank. We can do Hurst. I'm going to go with Hurst for the bring back with Blake Corum. I do have a bring back with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt with Travis Hunter. I do have a bring back for Travion Henderson with Pat Bryant. I do not have a Panther for Rashid Shaheed. I do not have a Pittsburgh Steeler. I do not have a Lion. And I do not have a San Francisco 49er. Or a Cincinnati Bengal. I do have Ashton Jeanty stacked up with Fernando Mendoza. I do have Jackson Dart stacked up with Malik Neighbors. This is an awesome team. I like it. I think the construction was fair. I think with the falling Mendoza, with the falling Catholic coming to the other Catholic of me, I think is a good pick. I think Fernando Mendoza is basically a smarter version of Jackson Dart. Has the ability to... I don't think his arm is as good as Jackson Dart. I think his touch is very nice. Mendoza, I was okay with. He seemed more of like a Jared Goff style. He's getting a lot of that comp. He's getting a lot of probably Joe Burrow with mobility. I don't think his deep ball or his accuracy, like I said, isn't that good. To me, he kind of I kind of want to say Phillip Rivers, but I don't think it's that. It's not Big Ben at all. He's a quarterback that I watched a lot growing up. Maybe even Aroma, to be honest. Kind of that quirky guy. Penix here. Theo Johnson. I passed on... Man, Jeremy Bernard is here. I don't take Jeremy Bernard a lot. I'm definitely taking Theo. Should I go wrist up or should I get the bring back with Liget? I'm gonna get the Liget. Let's go, Liget. Xavier Liget, a player that I was always in on. I always saw potential in that man there. Maybe you guys do not like my final 2 picks. Or my final draft after I got Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt. Maybe I should have gotten another quarterback. I'm really betting on this Giants offense in 2026. It could be an epic failure. It could be Pete Carroll going from the Seahawks to the Raiders, as in John Harbaugh going from the Ravens to the New York Giants. There's a lot of fantasy analysts like Davis Maddock and others saying that the offensive coordinator is not a great pick. I think there is some degree of accuracy in that aspect. I think, too, though, applying the redundancy and vanilla-ness, word I'm making up now, but a kind of repetitive offensive nature from the Kansas City Chiefs and applying that to the New York Giants. I think applying a different offense in that aspect with a new brain in John Harbaugh, I think with the offensive coordinator, I can't think of his name right now. I'm going to Google it. OC for New York Giants. Matt Nagy, that's his name. I think applying Matt Nagy's performance from the Kansas City Chiefs to the New York Giants in a new ascending offense can have some potential for flourishment anytime throughout the season. I'm hoping that we see big spikes from the New York Giants, or at least some stability from Jackson Dart to Malik Neighbors, and maybe Theo Johnson gets in the end zone a couple of times, especially in Week 10. In any such case, I think I smashed this. I do like to see higher projected points from myself. I think seeing 2,750 around there is a good estimate for me. Is an estimate like I played the room pretty well. Having lower projected points than that is something I am more leaning towards underdog in knowing how well my team is. You cannot mistake my draft from pick 12. Um, at quarterback, Jackson Dart. My final team at quarterback for my 11th bet and final Best Ball Mania 7 of this 2026 NFL season. This is Best Ball Mania 7. This is my 11th Best Ball Mania. My birthday. Who do you know? Maybe God was working through this draft. At quarterback, Jackson Dart. At quarterback, Jackson Dart and Fernando Mendoza. Fumbling through this. At running back, Ashton Jeanty, Travion Henderson, RJ Harvey, Blake Corum, and Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. At wide receiver, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Carnell Tate, Rashid Shaheed, Pat Bryant, Travis Hunter, Ted Hurst, and Xavier Legette. And at tight end, Colston Loveland, Dallas Goddard, and Theo Johnson. I got Jackson Dart stacked with Malik Neighbors. I have Fernando Mendoza stacked with Ashton Jeanty. No bring back on with that game in Arizona. No bring back with the Dallas game for that game. I like that game a lot. The New York Giants and Dallas Cowboys game. That will be a fun Week 17 game to see with Dad. That was more or less the first team that I liked that I rooted kind of for when I was growing up. I remember maybe one of the first games I watched was a Cowboys versus Giants game. I think the Cowboys had won that game, which is why I didn't convert right then and there. But the Eli Manning New York Giants with Victor Cruz doing the cha-cha. I remember when I was playing some basically pavement football back in the day at my school for lunch and recess or break. We would always be playing football, and that was one of the moves that I would do, was the cha-cha. And then once Odell came to the New York Giants, they were really good. They never had a really strong push like I thought they should have. Odell had his moment with Mr. Josh Norman. I think that was his name. Josh Norman. Yeah, Josh Norman. Pretty nice cornerback back in the day. But going back to the team, Jackson Dart stacked with Malik Neighbors, Fernando Mendoza stacked with Ashton Jeanty, Travion Henderson, Week 17 versus Pat Bryant, Blake Corum Week 17 with Ted Hurst, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt Week 17 with Travis Hunter, Colston Loveland, no bring back. Zay Flowers, no bring back with Cincinnati. Carnell Tate, no bring back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have Rashid Shaheed with the bring back with Xavier Legette. No bring back for Colston Loveland, like I said, with the Lions. No bring back for Dallas Goddard for the with the San Francisco 49ers, and Theo Johnson to make sure I do not have a 0 at tight end in Week 10. I really like this draft. Probably get booted in Week 15 because maybe I don't have enough points at wide receiver. Maybe I should have went and gotten a wide receiver in this range. Maybe I should have taken Michael Wilson with a bring back on Ashton GT. That's a pick that I do like. Tucker Kraft is another pick that I said I should have taken. Makai Lemon was another pick that maybe I should have taken also there. Lemon is just not a pick that I'm very much into. Kind of liked his tape, then I didn't. People didn't like Ibuka's tape. I very much did. I think that I have the eyes for film, so to speak. I can see who really jumps off the tape, and who shows speed, basically. Not to tout I show speed, but who really looks fast versus who is fast. Something my dad used to say was, or still says to some extent when we watch the NFL Combine, is a guy can be fast, or there's a difference between fast and football fast. Basically, a difference between track fast and being fast on a timer and being fast on the field, getting in and out of breaks, going through in and out of breaks, stopping on a dime. I think that's what made Malik Neighbors my wide receiver 1 in his draft class above Marvin Harrison and Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze being my number 2. I haven't gotten much of the rookies this year, but going back to Neighbors, like I was saying, I go in and out. If you guys can tell, I go in and out of little rants that I have and little thoughts that go into my head. But Malik Neighbors, going in and out of his breaks, seeing him with Jaden Daniels, a really good quarterback that I really liked. Really not getting much of him, but really bet on him and his productivity in his rookie season. But Malik Neighbors, and really betting on Malik Neighbors and him coming out in his rookie season, and drafting him last year, having his injury riddled year 2. I knew he was going to be a star, Malik Neighbors. He gets to wear number 1 again. I think he wore number 1 in LSU. Even having a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. that we see is a little bit older, we can say he's a little bit washed. Just having him and his intelligence in his ear, having a guy that was able to break out Juju Smith-Schuster in his ear, being around a coach in John Harbaugh that has had Zay Flowers, has had Anquan Boldin, has had, who is another guy that was on the Ravens a couple years ago. The Ravens were always known for their defense. But there's a guy that I'm probably missing on the Ravens that has always been good for them at wide receiver. I think John Harbaugh's ability to squeeze whatever is left, kind of the Andy Reid in him. I think that's what it is being able to squeeze out a little bit more of wide receiver power and kind of unlocking what they once were. We always talk about, those wide receivers that have their final year in Baltimore. Maybe Juju Smith-Schuster offers up some non-zero aspects. Guys that I've taken in the last rounds when I thought that there was no players to be drafted, or the players that I do like in the end of rounds have gone off the board. guys that can offer you something at the end of rounds, like a Juju Smith-Schuster, like a Odell Beckham Jr., like a Cooper Kupp. Who else is here? Like a Hollywood Brown that I have taken a couple of times. I think Keenan Allen is the right thoughts. I think him not signing is a very bad sign, especially in August. You should stop taking. I think guys like the Stephon Diggs, maybe a guy that I should have taken instead of Blake Corum. Guys like Courtland Sutton, guys like Jacoby Myers. Usually the wide receivers, the older wide receivers, tend to hurt you a lot more when they go in the 8th, 9th, 10th round. Michael Pittman Jr., a guy that I have not really drafted at all this season. I think DK Metcalf can fall into that bucket maybe this year. I think having a fresh head coach can maybe revive their careers. I think the Chris Godwins I have bet a lot against this year, especially basically Chris Godwin this year I bet against. The Cooper Kupps, the Devontae Adams, the guys that are going early in these drafts in round 4, basically those are, in my opinion, maybe not to the extreme of what Ben Gretsch calls, from Stealing Signals, the dead zone running backs. I would like to call those I have to think of the name now. I put myself on the spot. It's like a dead zone wide receiver. I would say it's not quite a cardio wide receiver that just runs vertical, basically like a Jack Besh. It is a guy that goes to a team to retire and just collect a check for his last year. Like I was saying, the guys that go to Baltimore and just collect a check for themselves, their last basically check. I have to think about what name I would put on those wide receivers, but it is like the passing of the torch. We have heard the phrase chaperone. Those are chaperone wide receivers those are eliminator ass wide receivers that usually can only offer you some potential early in the season. A Cooper Kupp maybe would have been a better pick in round 18 than Xavier Legette, who can basically be a 0. I don't know if Darren Waller went off the board. No, he didn't. Maybe I should have went with Darren Waller in the 15th in the 18th round and got Cooper Kupp. I think I did not have enough enough rookie potential. Having Ted Hurst did help. Having a lot of year 2 guys do help. Having players that are, let me name this draft. Having players that are on their rookie contracts that want to earn their second contract. In my opinion, if I was a head coach and if players were walking into my locker room or if the first message I were to give my team, if I am the new head coach, I would say, gentlemen, you have earned your first contract. Let's compete and earn your next one. This is what you are playing for. Earn your second contract for yourself. Go out there, work hard. Be not just a leader for your team, but also for yourself and your family. Go provide for them. Go show them that you are coming to work. You are doing your homework on and off the field. You are giving them a chance to eat. You are here not to mess around and have friends and make friends, and this is your job. This is my job too. We can be friends off the field. But on the field, when practice begins, and even in the film room, and even in the weight room, that's your time, your chance to earn your next contract. You are here to earn your next contract. I am here to earn my next contract. Making friends will come. Being a cool guy, being a guy you want to chill with when you're retired is good. Will come. That's what I would say to the guys that are on the rookie contracts, guys that are playing for that next contract, guys that maybe have been moved around. I have basically, if I am still in that role of the head coach, I am saying, I have opened the door for you to make a home for yourself. But there is no free lunch. There is no free lunch. You have to earn your lunch. You have to earn your free time. If you want a lot of that, or if you want that time to be good, you have to put in the work on the field. I was talking, and in your work, I went up to my economics teacher. I think it was macro or micro economics. I think it was micro. I think it was micro econ 003. Now I'm going to Google it because it's going to bother me. Macro econ 003 UCR. I think it's macro. Introduction to macroeconomics, yeah. Microeconomics. Introduction to microeconomics. I was talking to my professor who's now at the university, or Duke University, explains very well his concepts and the economic cost-benefit analysis of economics. But I asked him, he just felt like a very comfortable guy to come up to at the end of lecture. Even though it was a big lecture hall, I was confident enough to sit in the front and finally able to ask him just a personal question. I like to do that with professors to basically help them, make them remember me in a sense. Because that's what we're all here for. I am a studier of political science and politics. And politics is basically, how can we have relationships that can flourish? and how can we build basically our own pockets too, to some extent, but also can change maybe for the better. There are no right answers, there are no correct answers in politics, which is maybe why I always left that door open, and now, which is why that makes finding a career in politics or in trying to pick out what career path I want to do for 30 years, that makes it all the more difficult. And that's maybe why I lean towards fantasy football analytics, is because I don't see it as cookie cutter, so to speak. You can make an argument for any one of these such players, or any one of the players that were drafted basically in this entire room or this entire board, and even players that were not even drafted, so to speak. You can make an argument for all those players to be drafted, and you can make an argument for all politics that it is either good or bad. In my opinion, it is just the way the world works. It is the reason why the world continues to spin. It is the reason why we are living here today. But going back to it just is. The world is the way it is because it has always been that way. And it will continue to be that way because that's the way God willed it. And that is the way he continues to will it. We are forced to... I think the politicians that we see on TV, if you are able to take off your biased opinions and your glasses of biasness, you're able to... That's what makes guys like Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan so influential in this time between 2020, late 2021, 2022 through even today in 2026. That's what makes the influencer, so to speak, so influential, is they can say words that spark controversy, but they spark controversy because in some respect they have truths in them, weaved into them. That's why, in my opinion, Christ was a politician, so to speak, in that respect. You could say he is the ultimate... You can even say he is the ultimate politician. I am still trying to grasp the entire notion of how we can live with Christ, live with God after this earthly life. And I think that's what makes, I think, to some extent, the other Christian denominations true in their own respect, and are able to live basically 300 plus years, maybe less than that, maybe more. I don't know exactly. But the Lutherans, the Calvinists, in their way, the Baptists, the non-denominationals, etc., etc. True. You can even say to some extent, movements like communism, movements like socialism, movements like authoritarianism, movements like revolutions that happened years ago. I think, and I just lost my train of thought on that. is that there are no truths in this life. The only truth is that we all try to navigate, we all try to take hold of the steering wheel without having first have been in the passenger seat, have first even been in the back seat, have first contemplated what it means to grab hold of the steering wheel. There are many influencers, I would say, and I fall victim of one that either bashes people that are able to have the courage to go online, or fall victim to insecurity of people, of myself, and am too prideful to put myself online, because I see myself as much better or more, maybe even to some extent just having thought of being better than them, or able to express my own opinion in a much deeper thoughts and analytical perspective. But I would say you cannot, in this 2026 age, we cannot fall victim to not expressing our beliefs, and that's what makes America great. Maybe we can say we should, maybe we can say our greatest, what is it? Our greatest it's not even an accomplishment. Our greatest, I can't think of the word right now. See, this is the kind of stuff that keeps me insecure, is being forgetful, being not being as vocabulary. I've always struggled with like reading and comprehension to some extent, and especially vocabulary. Maybe it wasn't even a struggle. Maybe it was not trying when I was younger, cheating too much to some extent. The last couple of years, I've really, I would say, tried. The last few years, the most recent years, I would say I pushed that. I have not pushed myself as I did early in college. But I would always say I have had that folly with myself, and that's one of my deepest demons that I struggle with and wrestle with, is my pride in my insecurity, my pride in my insecurity. I tweeted this a couple of days ago. I retweeted this a couple of days ago. I tweeted it a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago or so. But it went like this, and maybe there's a different way that someone has said it before, a different way that a philosopher has said it before, or someone of the great mind has said it before. But I said, do not mistake your ego for humility. For me, I don't even think I said it. Maybe it came from God. Maybe it came from, I do think the thoughts that come into my head are not, and maybe that's what maybe now I'm starting to understand through that exercise what Immanuel Kant was saying, the great philosopher Immanuel Kant, in his play and his analytical arguments with David Hume. David Hume, I've taken a class on this, and I'm glad I really analyzed all the text I could, and I was fortunate enough to get an A in that class. One of the only A's I've gotten in college. But David Hume argued that we only experience things, or we only have like memories through experience, and are able to only understand things through experience and know things through experience. Immanuel Kant goes a little bit further by saying, yes, we do have that, but we also are able to kind of read in a literal sense, but also play out in a sense our future in our head, and in another respect we are able to get inside knowledge to some extent through maybe the divine, or through the world, or through God, or through the Holy Spirit, in my opinion, or through intercessions and prayer from others, from maybe those that have died before us, or that have but what Kant was saying was basically, to wrap that up, was, and what I was trying to say was, there are thoughts that can come into our heads, maybe even in a much tinier sense, and I think the Catholics would say it is our angel talking to us, our guardian angel talking to us. Like we could say, even going through this draft, there are thoughts that come into my head that do not come from, are not my thoughts first, but come by me thinking and are placed into my brain. Should I take even little thoughts, just like the Blake Corum thought of, should I draft Blake Corum, or should I draft another tight end in Tucker Kraft, Those are little minute thoughts, but in in Immanuel Kant's philosophy, and on experience and what it means to experience, and I think the term he used was a priori, was you can have an experience without having the experience, through someone or something putting it into your head first, having the projectable experience of having to project it in your future. I think that's the fundamental literature and of wisdom, in some respects, in the Proverbs and in the Psalms, from the great King David and Solomon too, one of the earlier philosophers, his son, or we think, who knows, maybe they weren't even related. And I think that's what makes the Bible true too, is that through wisdom and through contemplating it, that's what philosophy is a love of wisdom, but through contemplating and wrestling with wisdom, we are able to gain it and gain a grasp on its understanding, I'm going to name this 814 HBC. Happy birthday, HBD. I'm gonna put happy birthday, Chris. This goes to a fellow elementary and middle school friend that I have. The money won't go to him. But just today and last night, I was contemplating his life and the life that I had that I partook in his life, and he partook in mine. We went back a few years. I won't get into the nitty gritty of it, but we've had good memories, and now he is in prison. So pray for him that he may be given some wisdom through his experience, but also through the Immanuel Kant, St. Thomas Aquinas, Christian philosophy and theology of coming to terms with what he has done and what basically what he has done and what he has failed to do, as we all as well. He has, I would say, he did wrong me, maybe even on multiple occasions, but I only saw him, and I only continue to see his good side and his potential, and that's what we should always see in people, is their potential to be better, to be greater, to be in some sort of aspect, to be a Christian, which is what his name was, or is. Hopefully he's still alive. God be with him. Have mercy on me, a sinner. Yes, but yeah, contemplated him a lot and thought about him and his life and my life with him, as a friend, as a teammate, as a classmate. Yeah, happy birthday, Chris. But this is a New York Giants, Las Vegas Raiders team. Dyson Darts, maybe from last year. Seattle, Carolina. And who else? Dang. I'm going to do Denver. Seattle. Denver, Seattle. We talked a lot about Blake Corum in this one. Should I put neighbors? Say. Oh, whatever. That's what it is. That's what it's going to be. Yeah. God, I miss that guy. I wish him well. Okay. Sorry to make that all sad, guys. We are gonna hop into a puppy, and then we are going to look at my rankings, and look at my exposures. Look at my rankings through my exposures. Yeah, we're getting back to drafting in fantasy football. Hope a little philosophy showed my side, a little political analysis shows my side as well. A little bit more of my personality, like I was saying early in this draft, early in this stream, I would say. We are streaming, have been streaming for 1 hour and 24 minutes. 25 minutes almost. Yeah, I don't think we have anybody on. I don't see anybody on. I'm glad we drafted Malik Neighbors with Malik Neighbors on the thumbnail. I am gonna get water. The 1.7. G Money 89. Hoodie 3030. I don't recognize any of these names, which is good and bad. I kind of like recognizing names. I kind of don't. Couple more badge lists in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 badges. 2 guys with helmets. With 3 guys with headgear, so to speak. Yeah, in this spot, so it's usually Bijan or Jameer Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua. Usually Amon-Ra St. Brown, CMC. I mean, usually Jackson Smith and Jigba, yes. CMC. I didn't get Sedarian Lamb. CMC drops to me. I got a lot of Lamb. I'm going to take CD. Maybe that pick should have been Amon-Ra St. Brown. This is going to be my last draft of the year. Someone's going to get CMC at the 109. Wow. Maybe even the 110. But yeah, we were going to talk about, I feel like talking football after philosophizing for a couple minutes and talking politics is kind of funny. Kind of calming. I feel like in a sense there was a presence with me of the great philosophers. Wow. CMC at pick 110 in a puppy. Wow. That guy is going places. To me, I think if this wasn't my last draft, I would have went CMC there. If it wasn't my last draft, maybe I would have went Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a hard fade that I really got to pray about and hope he don't hurt me. Getting Jefferson and CMC would have been crazy. Who's still available? He should have went Hampton, the CMC guy. Who knows? Who knows? Should I go Nabers again? Man, I do not have a lot of Amari and Hampton. Shit. Dang. Just not going neighbors here. Ugh. I hate it. I hate it. Probably should have went neighbors. Get that week 17. Neighbors. Lamb. But I went Hampton. My Nana is calling me. I'm gonna text my little brother who's in the other room and tell him to call Mama. Give sorry about that, guys. She is elderly, 91 years old, so not answering that is, or being on top of that is good. In the second round, or you guys saw that I was kind of hesitant on the Omarion. She's calling me again. I'm gonna go T-Mac, top of my board. I mean, Trey McBride was top of my board. I feel very odd about that. If I pick my nose, I'm sorry, but kind of do it sometimes. Bad habit growing up. Try to not do it. But I find it very irritating to not do it, so to speak, to have my nose not clear. I think I only have like one nostril that is pretty good. I think my nose is like kind of slightly slanted, so it's hard sometimes for me to breathe. The CMC guy getting Walker and Trey McBride. Nice. Hope that guy goes places. Hope he doesn't tack on like Byshell Tootin or something. I'm kidding. And he gets Jaden Waddle. This guy knows ball, bro. Better than Garrett Wilson. Dang. Josh Allen right here, bro. Got Scatterbo. If I go Josh Allen and DJ Moore is not there, I'll be mad. I gotta go Josh Allen. I think if I do this again, I was leaning Cook Neighbors. Probably a better pairing than Lamb Hampton. Allen at the 4-6. Trying to compete with the CMC Walker McBride guy. And that's a pick I had to make. I think with Amari and Hampton too, probably should have went running back in the third, fourth round. This year reminds me a lot of CJ Flowers going at 27, and in BBM we got him at 36. But like I said, this year reminds me a lot of the 2024 season that I had, my first year that I got into Best Ball Mania, or excuse me, technically my second year in Best Ball Mania. My first year I just did like a couple of drafts. I drafted guys like freaking Derek Carr and Jason Witten, guys that I only knew names of basically. In a couple DK DraftKings tournaments, maybe like $3 or $5 tournaments, maybe did a couple of those. Um, didn't know what I was doing. Really got into the nitty gritty of listening to fantasy football podcasts the next year after that in 2020. Oh, that would have been 2023 then, actually. Or 20. I can't think. It's probably 2024. It's when I really got into fantasy football. JMO almost falling to me would have been pretty fun. Looking for DJ Moore here. DJ Moore, come on down, baby. Woo! Probably would have been Bucky too if DJ Moore would have been off the board. I like the Bucky click a lot. A guy that I also have not been clicking is Christian Watson. Probably have none of him. Underdog, 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 dog. You know what? I'm going to save that for after the stream. I can save it for after the stream. Yeah, Green Bay, even though I like Green Bay's offense a lot more, that's a game that I have completely wrong. And I have been drafting wrong the entire season. I've been taking a lot of Texans in the later rounds, a lot of Tank Dell, a lot of Dalton Schultz. Starting to get a little bit of Jaden Higgins. Jadarian Price, not a big fan of. I hope Tucker Kraft comes back, actually. I think Gretsch said Pollard was a good pick. I'm going to go the big Q. Started off this stream with a blazer, courtesy of Mr. Mason Dodd, Big Flock Fantasy. Shout outs to Mr. Flock Fantasy himself, Mr. Mason Dodd. Has put out a ton of content, a ton of free content on YouTube. Has a little bit of a paywall to get his draft rankings, but it is at a fairly reasonable price. I feel like whenever I pay for something, I want to maybe use it more. Last year I used a overlay. I think that's probably a better investment than people think. I think it's better even than, to some extent, what is it called? A solver or a sidekick? I'm just going to say like Pat Crane's solver. I think only he should be using the solver. Because it has his rankings, and so us degenerates, I guess if you don't want to be called a degenerate, that's fine. Us normies, us influencers, us I would say casuals too. We're casuals to some extent. Us using those rankings of the Pat Cranes, of the ETR guys, it's actually kind of bad EV for them. I think it's bad EV for us too. I think we do need to apply our own ranks. I think that's something that I maybe critique a little bit too much year in, year out. Tucker Kraft. I can get a wide receiver too after this. I'm gonna take Kraft. I said I was gonna take him this draft. I take him with Lamb, Hampton. Dang, I want that neighbors pick back. But I got Tet, which is cool. DJ Moore, which is nice. Quentin Johnston, which is nice. O'Marion Hampton, which is cool too. Maybe I should have just went Herbert. Maybe I'll go Herbert. Maybe I'll take a naked Patrick Mahomes. Oh, that sounds amazing. I did not say that. I did not say naked Patrick Mahomes sounds amazing. But going back to the influencers, I think, and like our rankings, and I mean, if you just want to advance, that's what I was playing for. Maybe you're an early, new to best ball. I think as the volume increases, but it's just my opinion again. It's my opinion, and like I was saying when I was talking philosophy and different things of that nature and politics, I think it's not cookie cutter. So I mean, if you are of the opinion I am only drafting for advancing, you need to, this is I think what you really need. And Chua might come back actually. I've not taken a lot of Dowdle. Justin Herbert comes back. I'm gonna take naked Mahomes. I'm gonna take Rico Dowdle here. Hopefully naked Mahomes comes back. If not, Jordan Love is fine. Then I could take like Kelsey. Right? Yeah, Mahomes is by week 5. But like I was saying, again, getting off topic. I think that if you are of the opinion that I am just drafting to advance and hopefully I can just double my money, or I'm just doing this to have fun, I think having a solver is I mean, the solver is expensive, I think, and maybe the solver's not as expensive. I think Pat Kerrane's sidekick is extremely expensive. If you're doing like less than 200 drafts, make your own ranks, and if you get one team in any contest through, that's awesome, dude. Keep working at it. Like, you have, this thing is growing. There's going to be more fish coming in. I am very fortunate enough to have came into this niche. How do you say that word? Niche. This niche of YouTube early. Man, Justin Herbert falling. If he comes back, I will take him. I will take a 0 at quarterback. Oh, God. Oh, gosh. Okay. They sniped me. I'm glad they did that. Naked Patrick Mahomes. Come on down. That's a pick that Pat Kerrane would actually be kind of proud on, kind of giving me a round of applause, so to speak. I do not feel like I am suffering at running back. Ja'Cory Cross Merritt goes off the board. Maybe now I do. I think Kenny Gainwell is fun. Because I think Kittle is really fun. But I have Travis Kelce. I might want to go Xavier Worthy, to be honest. Xavier Worthy's off the board. Dear Lord. The missile. No, I have the other guy. Taking these guys right here, Rashad White, Keaton Mitchell, Tyrone Tracy, and Aaron Jones. I'm going to queue up Chris Rodriguez. Hope he comes back. I'm going to take Kelce. I could stop at quarterback. I can stop at tight end. Oh, shit. Yeah. Okay. What was I saying? Something about the solver. Okay. Yeah. If you are of the mindset that I am doing this to double my money, or doing this to, if I'm going in the season with, into the draft season with, let's say $3,000, and I can walk out of, and my goal is to walk out with $6,000. Highly unlikely, I would say, especially if you're really new. Even if you invest in something like the Sidekick and Solver, I think they are great tools. I think it does damage to Soda in some aspect by multiple people using the same tools and being offered the same picks, which is why you have to really agree with a lot of what the Sidekick and Solver and even Flock Fantasies tool, whatever he calls it, you have to we're gonna close our eyes and take that Christian Rodriguez pick. Chris Rodriguez on my buddy Chris Rodriguez's birthday. Seems fitting. Seems very fitting. But yes, you have to really almost agree with all their takes. And I personally don't take this the wrong way. I would rather put my own money where my mouth is at. And maybe this year I have not done that quite a bit. But I hopefully coming on this podcast again towards the end of the draft season kind of shows that. I kind of want to see what he does. Tyrone Tracy. His draft is actually coming out pretty well. Keaton Mitchell. What do we got here? Boston. Take Woody. Take Woody. Take Woody. Good. Okay. Yeah. Oh, we got Woody at the bring back. Cool. Okay. Woody Tucker Craft. Nice. But yes, you have to agree almost with everything that the people that put out that content or those tools to use and to put money and more money, basically. The sidekick is, and I keep saying the sidekick, and I'm sorry to slander you, Mr. Pat Crane, if you are listening. I do listen to you, actually, and I find your content, you're one of the brightest minds in the landscape, I would say. But I think for me, it would be like, it actually is, to some extent. My mom would agree with this analogy, but me getting a junk car on OfferUp, it breaking down and having me funnel money into it. I had to buy the car. You have to buy the tool that helps you draft, and then you're putting your own money into it. To me, I would rather use an overlay, make my own ranks, and or buy rankings if you could. Shit. Yeah, that's fine. Travis Hunter. I think that's a good call that he has. Pat Crane, while we're talking about him. Travis Hunter falling. It's a good pick. Oh, and then we got we got him with C-Rod too. Nice. Jacksonville. They play Washington week 17. Anybody? Yeah, nobody's really available. But yeah, to me, it's like I have to buy the vehicle, and then the vehicle, if the vehicle sucks, or you're buying basically a used car that does not work. I've done this a couple times. So it's a good analogy. I'm kind of hurting myself and saying maybe my parents are right. But it is like buying a new vehicle for, let's say, X amount of money. I'm not going to say how much I put into a used vehicle. But it's buying the used vehicle without a working engine or transmission, and then having to funnel more money into it. Zach Charbonnet is pretty cool. Wix is gone. Son of a yacht. I think I put my shit. I might have to critique some stuff. My limits. Let's critique that to 6. Let's critique that to 10. Let's take that up to 4. 3 is cool. Because I do not want to be autoed something else. Yeah, but it's like you are buying a vehicle that does not have a working engine or transmission, either one, um, and the vehicle itself. So basically, it seems like you are buying a thing that will help you. And maybe it does. Maybe your advance rates, instead of advancing half the teams, or maybe you're able to double all the teams. Maybe you're able to, instead of just advancing to week 15, maybe you're able to get to week 16 with all of your teams. Well, then I think it's valuable that you are buying the thing that helps you and putting your own hardworking money into it. For me, it's a Cyrus Allen-ass team. But I do have Travis Kelce too. I mean, I don't need any more quarterback points. I'm done at quarterback. Tight end. I can really think on this. Oh my gosh, Cyrus Allen goes. Jesus. Marquez. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. But yeah, it's sorry to talk about it and not talk about it. But to me, in a sense, it is like buying a used car that you think will do good for you when you invest money in it. But maybe different things are wrong with it as well. Maybe you know it doesn't have a working transmission, but the engine and the AC and the radiator all go out the next year, and the power steering pump and the rotors go out. Then what happens, you know? Those are all things that have happened to me. I have put in quite a bit of money into a car that does not work, and maybe that's just my arrogance talking and me wanting a car that looks cool, even though I don't know how to do mechanical work or get frustrated with it. And maybe I should dedicate more time to working and dedicate more time to learning and understanding different crafts like that to save myself some money, or doing more due diligence, or listening to my parents about getting a vehicle from that's a little bit more more expensive, but I have a payment on it that is stable, instead of spending between $300 and $900 every time for a mechanical issue or something. But yes, my vehicle has broken down. Not broken down to some extent. Kind of, sort of. in the last couple months it has. Things have broken. Thank God it doesn't break down in the middle of the road, but I think getting something that you trust is good. So if you trust that the solve or the sidekick Mason Dodd's rankings and his tools are very good, go ahead, knock yourself out with something that you think will be effective for you in the long run. Tory Horton getting a lot of camp buzz. Guy that I want to invest in. Nicholas Singleton, where is he at? Probably taken already. A damn Randall. Can we go to war with Omarion Hampton, Rico Dowdle, Chris Rodriguez, Woody Marks, and Zach Charbonnet? Hopefully. I think this is a why. Jeremy Bruno. Should I just add Jalen Royals, a pick that I have been taking? Jordan Whittington. See what bringbacks I have. I really haven't talked a lot on this one. The Carolinas like Charbonnet, Miami, Dallas. Juju Smith-Schuster or Odom Beckham Jr. on this team is crazy. I'm gonna go with the Kansas City running back. If not, yeah, I'm gonna go with Kansas City running back. What did it say? He's a third string? Dang. Emmett Johnson. Listed as running back 3 on unofficial depth chart. I should have taken DeMarcado. Okay. I've taken him a couple times now. Charlie Collar. Feel a little bit better about this 2-6-8-2 build. With that 6th running back. Felt fine at the onesie positions at tight end and quarterback. It feels really nice to have Tucker Kraft there at tight end. I got a couple guys that I am very much into. Would I rather have a couple 4th, 5th, 6th round running backs over Hampton? Maybe. Can the Chargers blow out my expectations? Probably. Should I have gotten Justin Herbert in the middle rounds? Maybe. Who knows? Maybe CeeDee Lamb goes off against the Chargers in week 15. And then we get some other spike weeks through 16 and 17, or 16 and 17 Lamb goes off again. Or he's just okay against the Giants. Cool. But yeah, just be mindful. I think that's what I'm saying, is just be mindful that you are buying something or you do not. I mean, I think the rankings, you can adjust their rankings, so maybe I'm blowing that out of proportion. But I think maybe you guys could ask Pat for his rankings, or I'm saying Pat Crane a lot. But Mason for his rankings. I think Mason's rankings and his tool is much more affordable, maybe. I do think they are both really good analysts. Very well known because they are very good at what they do. ETR too as well. I know ETR understands that weight on their side. If things go wrong this year, they're probably not going to have a very profitable next year. Maybe lose out more money next year if this year does not go well. This year, it seems like, to me, I've been taking a lot more guys that they were touting throughout this offseason, all these fantasy football analysts. There are a couple guys that I am questionable on and have a little bit less exposure to. We'll see that and check that out. I'm going to label this one #21st puppy 0814. We have Giant or Los Angeles Chargers, Kansas City Chiefs, Houston, Green Bay. Should just say Houston because I only have one Green Bay pick. Seattle. Oh, Buffalo's on there too. Why don't you like my picks, bro? Buffalo, Houston. So this is an AFC type draft. Oh, in Seattle. Maybe it wanted me to get another quarterback. It's fine. Oh, Jacksonville too. I've noticed it doesn't really like, Underdog doesn't really, in your projected points, they don't really like you having a lot of teams spread out. They only like it really concentrated, to be honest with you. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, just be mindful of what you're getting into, guys. Check out my exposures. 42.5% Pat Bryant. He's my official top guy. How much Franklin do I have? Nice. Theo Johnson. I keep mixing up his name and Quentin Johnston's name. Quentin Johnston. He's Johnston. Theo is Johnson. Johnson. But yes. Pat Bryant. 42.5% Pat Bryant. Theo Johnson. 41.8%. Kaimani Vidal. K-Money. That's what I'm calling him. K-Money. Kamani Vidal, 40.5%. Tank Bigsby, or shoot, Tank Dell, excuse me, Tank Dell, sorry about that. Tank Dell, 37.9%. Bo Nix, 37.9%. Jalen McMillan, 36.6%. That's the pick that people don't like. I like that quite a bit. Let's talk about Jalen McMillan a little bit. In my opinion, this one's terrible. Ricky Pearsall, 30.7%. It was looking good. it was looking good, I'd say. Jalen McMillan. Mecha Ibuka is the clear number one. I'm going to say that right now. That's another pick that I think Mr. Patrick Carane is out on, or he has probably about, if I were to give him a guess, which is a pretty wide range, but it's between 6 and 12%, he probably has a Mecha Ibuka. To me, I think the schedule is very favorable. It gets harder at the end of the year. But I think he has the potential to be going at the 1-2 turn next year. Where we are drafting, where we had a little bit ago, I wasn't drafting, but I keep hearing the year where it was CD Lamb and what's his name? CD Lamb. Oh shoot. And Amon-Ra St. Brown going at the 1-2 turn. I think a Mecha Ibuka could go like right around there next year. I think we'll have Jamar Chase probably in the first round. JSN, Puka Nakua, Malik Neighbors. I think with this year, I'm saying it right now, truth serum take, Justin Jefferson should not be going in the first round. The big board had it correctly. And my thinking is, and this is what I mean to analyze all sides and try to be as non-biased as possible. To me, Justin Jefferson reminds me of the pick we were taking with Garrett Wilson 2 years ago, last year when we were taking Brian Thomas in the end of the first round. If you're not a JJ McCarthy guy, and you're not a Kyler Murray guy. I'm not a Kyler Murray guy. I understand the analytical perspective that JJ McCarthy is not the guy. I think Justin Jefferson is a very difficult pick in the first round. I think you could even say, and this is not a guy I like, but even Nico Collins should probably go. Though they should be reversed. I think a lot of people like Nico Collins. Heck, George Pickens. Maybe can outperform Justin Jefferson this year. Am I wrong to say that? No. It's my opinion. Can it happen? I give it a 50-50 shot. 60-40. I really am thinking about if I really think that that's a good take for me. If I really think hard about it and I really want my takes on if I want to wear my heart on my sleeve. I think you could take, if you're not a Kyler Murray guy and you're a JJ McCarthy skeptic, or vice versa, if you are a Kyler Murray skeptic and you do not think Justin Jefferson is, or you know what I mean. If you are a Kyler is not the guy like they're saying, or you are not a Kyler Murray guy and JJ McCarthy you think is not as good as you thought he was when he was coming out, a la me, you should not have JJ McCarthy in your portfolio, or you should have very few of JJ McCarthy. I have like a tissue of JJ McCarthy for my nose if he beats me. He beats my ass in week 17. If he gives me a bloody nose, if he makes me cry, I have a tissue of him. It's calling me again. Gosh, okay. Give me 1 second on that one. Yogi, call Naga. That call is really worrying me. I'll be done hopefully in an hour. But yeah, this fade with the Minnesota Vikings shows you everything you need to know about what I think of the Minnesota Vikings this year. I think Kevin O'Connell was a good offensive coordinator. He doesn't utilize his running backs very much, which maybe can bite me in the ass this year. I think he got out Sam Darnold. A lot of people are thinking that Kyler Murray is going to be like Sam Darnold. I think maybe early in the season, yes, and I think Kyler Murray has the potential to offer JJ McCarthy or Justin Jefferson some good spike weeks. I think Justin Jefferson's ceiling outcome is 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns, which is like what George Pickens gave us last year. I think Nico Collins and George Pickens are right there. And if Dak Prescott, if CeeDee Lamb misses time again, or if CJ Stroud is just able to find Nico Collins a little bit more, or Malik Neighbors is healthy throughout the season, or Emeka Ibuka and Baker Mayfield just have that connection, or Zay Flowers can find the end zone. There's a lot of players that are able to climb up the board for next year. In fantasy football, I think that's the biggest outcome I think that's our biggest risk is to play for tomorrow. It is not playing for the years that we seen Justin Jefferson play. 184 targets. I think that's what we think Justin Jefferson is. That was with... I think Justin Jefferson would be really good with Aaron Rodgers, to be honest. Probably way better than with a Kyler Murray and a J.J. McCarthy. I think we hoped J.J. McCarthy would have been a Kirk Cousins with a little bit of mobility. What? What? Huh? Give me a second. Have to take one of my bills. Okay. No. Anyway. Yes, Justin Jefferson. I think we are drafting Justin Jefferson at his ceiling outcome. I think in my heart of hearts, Justin Jefferson should be going. He is closer to a George Pickens than he is a CeeDee Lamb. I think to some extent that's why he fell so much in his NFL draft, is because when he was playing with Jamar Chase, he was being out-targeted by Jamar Chase. That's why I say he's closer to a Brian Thomas than he is a Malik Neighbors. Or that's why I say he's closer to a CeeDee or a George Pickens than a CeeDee Lamb. That's why I've taken a lot more CeeDee Lamb than a George Pickens. That's one of my biggest fades in the first round. I think Jonathan Taylor. I think I've taken Colts. Yeah, I haven't taken any Jonathan Taylor. Will that beat me in week 17? I do not even have a tissue. I will have to use my sleeve when he beats me in week 17. I think the Colts have more potential, and I think drafting the Colts, I was on the Ben Gretz side last year of Jonathan Taylor and him probably being a 2-3 turn guy and me not willing to take that than him being in the first round. You could probably say this year's Jonathan Taylor is probably... I'm leaning towards the Kenneth Walker side. I hope it's Kenneth Walker. if you were to give me a round 3 guy, could be Brees Hall. I mean, if we've seen Geno do it, I think he'll have more or less. I think he is a lot more stable than a Kyler Murray. We've seen him in spots in Seattle where he has outperformed Kyler Murray to some extent if he has the pieces around him. Fantasy in the aggregate thinks the Jets are have really nice pieces. I was not quite into was I? I think I like Omar Cooper Jr. over Elijah Surratt. I didn't like him as a first rounder. Kenyon Sadiq, I liked him because of his tight end RAS score. I think him as a first rounder is quite expensive in the real NFL draft. I think Garrett Wilson probably could be a player that is taken at the 2-3 turn. He's much closer to like a George Pickens than a CD Lamb, so to speak. Closer to a Justin Jefferson than a Jamar Chase. I think Ben Gretch's podcast with the Establish the Edge podcast on the NFC East has a very good breakdown of the looking at the season-long stuff week in and week out of the CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens stuff. I remember George Pickens being the number 2, clearly behind CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb getting the first reads until CeeDee Lamb got hurt. And George Pickens had to be the number 1. George Pickens, because I think CeeDee Lamb is such a good pick in the back half of the first round, has the potential to maybe even go in the first round of drafts. The reason why I like players like Jamar Chase is because I think Jamar Chase has shown the ability to really out-target and stay on the field over T. Higgins. I think maybe T. Higgins' first year without... Like, I have 1.3% T. Higgins. That was another big fade of mine this year. He only had 110 targets with Joe Burrow. And 1,042 yards and 7 touchdowns. I think T. Higgins is a fine click. I'd rather have him over probably. It's close. Even though Chris Olave is going over him, I think they're more of the same type of player. I think Mike Evans going to San Francisco is a lateral move. He is much older. I can see him potentially outscoring what's his name? T. Higgins. He was hurt last year, so maybe he'll have a really good year this year. 9.2%. Not a lot of Mike Evans, but I have enough of him. You could say even with the field. To me, even with the field is probably more or less 12, 13%. 8% seems a bit low. I would rather double the field and have guys under 4%, like I do with Justin Jefferson and JT Sanders, or Jonathan Taylor, excuse me, because it allows me to really, at the 75% outcome percentile, to really basically come out of the off season of the NFL season favorable. I don't know who's gonna get hurt. I had a couple players last year that got hurt. Malik Neighbors, Tucker Kraft, a couple others. I remember Christian Watson being a guy that I was contemplating in the 18th round. This year I gotten a little bit better, kind of taking those scary bullets. I even started packing my bags when Deebo Samuel went to the San Francisco 49ers, was not getting him in there. I think, to be honest, he's in a fine range now. I would rather pay up in cost knowing he's on a good team that knows how to utilize him than on a team that is not great and he can just be a nothing burger for me, kind of a roster clogger, so to speak. It's just knowing, again, Pat Crane and Eric Beinfor has their really good podcast on Spike Weekend on Legendary Upside, their collab on YouTube, where they talk about mostly Pat Crane, but Beinfor has good takes too. But I noticed Crane was really trying to gather his thoughts in that podcast, which is something that he does not kind of do outwardly, I would say. I think he's very calm, cool, and collected, which I like. And he knows how to apply a lot of the analytical profiles. I think sometimes with some players he overemphasizes and gets into a little bit too much. I liked Jeremy Bernard actually coming out as a prospect. I think with Aaron Rodgers, though, especially after the Ben Gretsch podcast, Unestablished Edge, those are one of my favorites now. I heard it last year, hearing it this year. That's really when you can hear Ben Gretsch's takes. I'm not a Stealing Signal subscriber, or his review, Stealing Signals subscriber. I would like to, if I do good this year, to really ask him questions, and I asked him a question on, I think, Instagram, and he reached back out to me, and that was really helpful, helping me more break down analytical profiles, and if I really wanted to be good at this thing of fantasy football. Hopefully next year I will be able to dedicate more money to it. But I really found his long view, in a sense, of the rookies with Aaron Rodgers that had played with Aaron Rodgers to be quite interesting. I've taken my fair share of DK Metcalf, really faded a lot of Jeremy Bernard and Michael Pittman Jr., and even to some extent Rico Dowdle, because of where Pittman and Dowdle are going in drafts. It's where I look for quarterbacks. It's where I look for wide receivers, because I think I have either players in my back pocket that are going later on, or players if they decide to break out, or I just take earlier running backs. I think this year, if we're zooming out, it's a lot. I can tell just by the board, we are getting tighter and it's harder to find where the edges and where the pockets on the draft are to really exploit. It's a really bad word. To me, a lot exploit can have really negative meaning, has a really negative meaning. I think it does good if you use it correctly, though. Especially in this aspect. When I say exploit, I really mean really using your resources effectively, using your knowledge to benefit oneself the most. Maybe I should just bite my tongue right now because I have a really bad analogy of it. But in the historical context, it's a good analogy. I think, though, getting off definitions and stuff, I think having like 40% of a player is a lot. Even having upper 30s is a lot. I think Mason Dodd, who I admire very much, is a good analyst. I think 33% of a player is like the most he takes. Maybe even 30% of a player is the most he takes. Having 35%, almost 36% of a player that goes in the second round, going into even the third and fourth round earlier in the offseason. That's why I said when the NFL is the most dead, that's when I would say the grass is the greenest, because we haven't really heard a lot of the clickbaity captions that try to kind of get a hold of us. We have the entire NFL season to look at of tape the prior year. Then we have from January until July. So that's another 7 months of breaking down tape, writing analytical perspectives, and projecting players for their roles. And if we analyze our prospects correctly in the combine, in their season of their last final year of college or their college profile, and if they end up in a good situation, aka your Malik Neighbors, your Emeka Egbukas, your Brian Thomas Jr. in 2024, maybe we can say, oh, that wasn't a good, that was just luck. I think, like your Justin Jefferson, his year one, his rookie season, your Garrett Wilson, his rookie season, people like to tout that one. I wasn't in the fantasy landscape then. Trevor Lawrence year two, I remember him making the playoffs and him having a good push. Your Joe Burrow year two. Baker a couple years ago. There are fantasy football is not parallel. It's not like the stock market, where on average, or like the S&P 500, if you zoom out, on average it goes up. Fantasy football is a lot of ups and downs. It's a lot of, I don't know what it's called, but it's that swinging ball thing that goes on people's desks that you have one ball and it goes, and the energy carries it and makes one ball on one side go up and one ball on the other side go back down to the other balls. But it's a constant ebb and flow, and things change, but we can say that on average the players that give us the spikes and are not priced correctly. Liam Murphy said it. We were taking T. Higgins in the second round last year, and and George Pickens in the fourth, and they flipped because we are fixated on the last year's outcome. And a guy I haven't taken a lot of, maybe because it's just me saying, oh, they're getting old. Devontae Adams, a guy that I gotta sneeze, haven't really taken much of this year at all. I think maybe once. Yep. Don't have him. But it's just the opportunity cost for him to fail. Is something that I am not willing to do. I was fortunate enough for him to not really matter in the NFL playoffs last year. He could very much kill me. It's another player that I have to wipe my nose with my sleeve, basically. Wipe my nose with my sleeve if he decides to get hurt in the middle of the season and then burn me at the end of the season. I'm hoping that's DK Metcalf that just ascends at the end of the season. I have a good amount of him. Oh, okay, only 7%. I felt like I was taking him a lot when I needed a wide receiver 3. Terry McLaurin is another guy that I think the line, the injury for the line is difficult, but yeah, I got a couple clicks of Terry there at the end of the draft season. I would say, yeah, we have the most amount of, I think, really going hard between January. Next year I'm really gonna try and go hard between January and July. Try to watch the film, try to see what they're trying to set up. But I think even just grabbing the data on free sites like Fantasy Data, if you have just access to Mason Dodd's site, I think his site is actually completely free. RotoWire is another site. Or just subscribe to like Ben Gretch's Stealing Signals newsletter, Jacob Sanderson's, Davis Maddox newsletter, if he has one, Liam Murphy's. I think he analyzes the NFL kind of like me, where he just looks at the raw data and then understands that there's a lot of ebbs and flows, but he knows who's a good prospect, or he can change his perspective on a dime, which I appreciate, based on price. And I think I'm seeing that more with Karain too as well. Even Davis Maddox, to some extent, he's seeing that and understanding that. The last BBM winner, Sam Sherman, he is very staunch on his picks. Pat Crane actually called him out yesterday, I think, for taking players that he is not fond of on his team. Maybe that's just the game we're playing, though. by being willing to mix in a couple of players that we do not like, or maybe one or two even to that extent, on teams that can help us. Maybe I should have taken Jeremy Bernard in that BBM instead of taking Xavier Leggett. I think I had that thoughts, to be honest, and I didn't do that. He's a guy that I've taken only a couple times, not even. Yep. 2 shares. Jeremy Bernard. I think I will be okay with my roll of toilet paper if Malik Neighbors gets injured again or does not show out. But in the potential that he does, I am able to turn that roll of toilet paper or that blanket into a bag of cash, hopefully. Only 153 teams, or I did about 26 in the pre-draft. Got a lot of similar teams on there, and then maybe like another 25 teams on DK. So about 200, a little bit over 200 teams drafted this year. Last year I almost had like 500 teams. I think that was a little bit excessive. I think I played really well this year. I think I was able to analyze the zeros that I think are zeros. I was taking this guy a lot, but I didn't like his prospect profile, Jonah Coleman. 7.2% is a lot. I said Michael Pittman. 1 share of Michael Pittman. I showed you Devontae Smith. I showed you Justin Jefferson. Nico Collins is a guy I kind of faded just because. Jeremiah Love, 9.58%. The Packers was something. Matthew Golden, 4.6%. Kyron, 3%. I'm kind of out on the Rams. I liked Puka at his cost, kinda. He's a guy with injury history. He's a guy that really could burn me at cost. Bijan 2. I just hope I build strong enough teams where my roster is competing with itself in the money weeks with really good plays during those games, especially if I get to week 17. I think I did a lot of that. I think that is very good for us to do. I think I've done it. I did it last year, where I kind of analyze all 3 weeks 15, 16, 17, and someone on the Eliminator explained that, or on the marathon that they explained that they really analyzed which teams have a good schedule or not. I think that is a good perspective to have. I did mostly just week 17 type rosters, but I mixed and matched a lot of the players. Last year, the game that I had go off, or the game that went off, was the Baltimore Ravens going into Green Bay in week 17. I had a Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Swift team with George Pickens on it as well, who had fallen to me. And then I think Jameson Williams as a wide receiver 2 that had fallen to me. I kind of faded Detroit also this year, which is bad for me. I think next year, it's not too bad. I got Gibbs at a good cost. Amon-Ra I kind of faded. JMO I got okay cost with. I didn't know I had that much Isaac Tesla. I got a Sam Laporta share. Okay, I got a couple. Cool. I thought I had more. Pacheco actually. But yeah. I think the difficult teams this year, Keaton Mitchell 40.5%, QJ 15.7%, Trey Harris 13.1%, Keaton Mitchell 12.4%. Oh, I said Keaton Mitchell up here. Kamani Vidal 40.5%, Keaton Mitchell 12.4%. Rondé Gatson 10.5%, Justin Herbert 4.6%, Omarion Hampton 3.3%, Lad McConkey 1 share, David Njoku 1 share. Yeah, the Lad pick. He's more like a. I could see him hurting me too. I picked him. I brought him all the way up in the 2-3 turn. I thought if he hurts me, he's gonna hurt me, and he'll probably go around where he's going again. The players that I have really difficulty with, a lot of difficulty with, and the teams that I have a lot of difficulty with are teams like. I actually had a lot of the Bears. See, Chicago. I have a lot of Colston Loveland and Caleb Williams. Kyle Mononga, I call that even with the field. Roma Dunze, I'm a little bit short on. Luther Burton, short on. And DeAndre Swift, short on. But just looking at the raw numbers, only 9 touchdowns, only 10 touchdowns last year, 1,300 yards. I mean, that's okay. Kind of what Kyron put up last year, kind of, I think. He puts up. Okay, so he's way better than Kyron, actually. I mean, Kyron's way better than DeAndre Swift. Started getting Bucky late. I don't know why that was a fade, but hearing the drum beat on that, I think that's another ebb and flow that can regress to his outcome of being a good player. That's another Ben Gretsch tout. He liked Bucky Irving coming out as a prospect. His co-manager of a lot of leagues, Sean Siegel, liked Cam Scatterboo coming out last year. I think that is a good pick. I think Josh Jacobs, who I have only 3.9% of, not doing as good last year. You see that regression in 2023, in 2025. He could have a good year this year. In 2024, I mean in 2026, like he did in 2024 and 2022. I think he should have actually stayed in the 3rd round. I think Cam Scatterboo should have stayed in the 3rd round. I think Kyron Williams should have stayed in the 3rd round. Travis Etienne should have stayed in the 3rd round. Bucky Irving should have been in the 3rd, 4th round. He was falling to the 5th and 6th. I think we could potentially be drafting TreVeyon Henderson in the 3rd round next year. Maybe even the 2nd round if he really does good, takes that backfield. There's a lot of players that I really like this year. New England Patriots. Travion Henderson, 28.8%. That looks beautiful. AJ Brown, 13.37%. Dubs and cool. Yeah, there's just going back and ending with the Jalen McMillan comment. I think Igbokwe is the number one, but we've seen him fall off dramatically. Especially after last year, we've seen him get injured. We've seen Chris Godwin get injured. Heck, we've even seen Jalen McMillan get injured, and I think he's still coming off injury from his neck and then another body part. I think that's why Ted Hurst is a good pick, 9.2%. I like that pick a lot. I wish I had a little bit more of Tez Johnson. If I were to do more drafts, I'd probably pick up a lot more of Ted Hurst and Chris Godwin and probably more Igbokwe and Bucky instead of so much Jalen McMillan. But hopefully he goes off in the 14, 15, 16 or weeks 15, 16, 17 and gets me and cashes out for me. But yeah, that wide receiver room is a rotating door, I would say. There are players, and Baker throws a lot near the end zone and the red zone. So it has potential to really pay off. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys appreciated it, if you guys found my content informative, I would say that Daniel Jones week 1. We have a comment. Daniel Jones week 1. Probably. Maybe. He probably heard the Colts slander. I like the Daniel Jones, actually. I just don't think they're deep enough in Indianapolis. I think I was taking Alec Pierce a lot in the big board. Maybe I put in like 10 more drafts in the puppy and get some exposures there, or do like 1 or 2 more pit bulls and do something there with those picks. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed my content, enjoyed my rants, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, follow me on X. I'm kind of on there a lot. I'd like to get off of there more and like to have my own posts. I am one to use a lot of free content, and so I'd like to give back to you guys in that way. I also do see the aspect of using making money, I guess, from my platform. So I want to be transparent on that aspect. Maybe if it all depends on how good I do this year, going into next year. Like I said, we are early. This is a niche that we are early in. But yes, follow the other players or the other analysts that I tout. Establish the Edge, Pat Crane with legendary upside, Sam Sherman, Jacob Sanderson. Thinking about thinking, Sam Sherman. I don't know if he has his own articles out, but he has a show with Pat Crane. Ben Gretsch and his Longview podcast with Jacob Sanderson. Ben Gretsch with Stealing Signals. Fantasy Flock or Flock Fantasy. Mason Dodd. I think he has good analytical perspectives. And he has a lot of good free content for all of us in the fantasy landscape. Peter Oversett, really good for just listening, I guess, if you're doing some work. A good show, just good entertainment. And the Typho Tower, or the Toxic Tower. It used to be called, I think, the Typho Tower. They rebranded it, renamed it, but the Toxic Tower. Um, Tyler, PBR Tyler, BBG, Eric, Best Ball Guy, and then Emo Cowboy. They have a good podcast over there. I'd like to be on that one pretty soon as a guest, and hopefully on Best Ball Breakfast with Pete, drafting Best Ball Mania teams, and maybe with Gretch and Pat someday, and with Flock too. But if you guys like hearing more podcasts with me, give this a re-listen, repost this on Twitter. Ask me comments in Twitter. Shout me out, ask me comments. Comment on my Twitter, like my Twitter. Yeah, I'm on X, I guess you could say. I'm on X more and more. Maybe it's me getting old. But thank you guys so much for listening. Hope to see you guys soon. God bless. Later.